To other news now, and in the words of a judge, he devastated a large family. But today, that same family heavily criticised the justice system after Andrew Kirkby was sentenced to 3 years for killing John Leonard.
Mr. Leonard was a partially sighted grandfather left to die in the street. Stephen Douglas is at Chester Crown Court for us and joins us this evening. Stephen.
Well, Tony, the judge called this a disgraceful display of violence. And to get an idea of just how well-loved, just how well-respected John Leonard really was, you only had to be in court number 2 this afternoon because it was simply packed out with his relatives here to show their support and solidarity. But it has to be said, they left court today bitterly disappointed with the sentences that were handed down. They arrived at court arm in arm and side by side. 22 of John Leonard's relatives came to see the man who robbed this large, close-knit family of its figurehead, finally sentenced. Last December, the 60-year-old was killed with one fatal punch. 20-year-old Andrew Kirkby pleaded guilty to manslaughter and this afternoon was sentenced to 3 years in a young offenders institute.
John was a typical hard-working and law-abiding family man. He brought his family up to respect the law and to love each other. He was sociable, understanding, funny, and he was a sort of man you just liked to be with. But what sort of messages do these sentences send out to the youth of our country? The lightness of these sentences is extremely disappointing, and the sentence on Kirkby for manslaughter of John is derisory.
Fueled by alcohol and cocaine and with a history of previous convictions, Carl Burns and Adam Bradley wanted to settle a grudge with John Leonard's son. When they arrived at his home in Macclesfield, they set about assaulting Craig Leonard. Andrew Kirkby took his anger out on Craig's father, a man 40 years his senior, a man who is blind in one eye and leaves behind 6 children and 12 grandchildren. Well, Carl Burns was given 3 years and Adam Bradley was given 18 months for that assault on Craig Leonard. The family of Craig and John not happy with any of the sentences handed down today. They said simply to me, how will this possibly put off anyone else from doing the same thing in the future?
Stephen, thanks very much indeed.